Every year, I found myself drawn to the quiet trails of Asheville, North Carolina. The air was fresh, the mountains were distant, and the woods offered a peace that only nature could provide. It was my escape, a chance to be alone, to clear my head. Over the years, I had hiked this trail countless times, each time feeling more familiar than the last. But that day, something was different. It was early spring, the perfect time for a hike. The trees were still bare, but the forest was alive with the sounds of birds and the gentle rustle of leaves. I had already walked the main trail, following the familiar path along the stream that led up to a rocky ridge. But on this particular hike, something caught my eye. Halfway through, I noticed a new trail, one I had never seen before. It wasn't wild and overgrown like the deer paths that sometimes cross the trail. No, this one was neatly cleared, almost intentionally made for hikers. The leaves and brush were pushed aside, and the earth was freshly disturbed, as if someone had just walked it. I stood at the fork where the trail split. My curiosity piqued. I knew this area well, and no trail had ever appeared here before. The map didn't show anything like it either. I hesitated, instinctively feeling that something wasn't right. But the desire to explore won over. After all, it was just a trail. How bad could it be? I started walking. The air felt oddly heavy, and as I ventured deeper into the woods, the sounds of the forest seemed to fade. The rustling of leaves had stopped. It was just me, the trail, and an eerie silence that I couldn't shake. After what felt like 10 minutes, I came across something strange. A small sign, half covered in moss, nailed to an old tree. I couldn't make out the words at first, but as I approached, the lettering became clearer. It read, "We keep what finds us." A chill ran down my spine. The words hung in the air, their meaning slipping away like a shadow. What did it mean? Why was it there? I turned back, ready to leave, but something in the forest stopped me. It felt like the trees were watching, closing in around me. When I glanced behind me, the trail I had just walked down was gone. The path had disappeared, as if the woods had swallowed it whole. Panic surged through me. I quickly turned around, my heart racing. The trees looked different now. Larger, more imposing. The forest wasn't the same. Everything was distorted. I felt like I was in a dream, but the pounding of my heart told me it was real. That's when I saw it. A figure standing just beyond the trees. At first, it was a mere shadow, something that flickered at the edge of my vision. But as I stared, it became clearer. A person, but not quite. Their shape was blurred, as if they didn't belong in the forest. I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman, but they were standing still, watching me. I felt their eyes on me, cold and unblinking. The air around me grew colder, and for the first time, I felt truly afraid. A voice inside my head screamed at me to run. I did. I turned and bolted down what I thought was the original trail, but the forest was playing tricks on me. The trees seemed to shift. The ground was uneven, and I couldn't find my footing. The figure remained at the edge of my vision, always behind me, always following, but never catching up. It was as if the woods were swallowing me, pulling me deeper and deeper. I ran, faster now, with my breath coming in ragged gasps. My legs burned, my heart thudded in my chest, but I couldn't stop. The fear was too strong. Every time I glanced over my shoulder, the figure was still there, its dark form barely visible, but unmistakably present. I didn't stop until I reached the main trail again. The familiar sound of the stream calmed me for a moment, but when I looked around, the woods seemed strangely quiet. Too quiet. Everything was back to normal. Too normal. The birds were singing again, the sun was shining, and the path I had just run from appeared undisturbed. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I pulled out my phone, hoping to call for help, but the screen flickered, showing missed calls, calls I hadn't heard. The signal was weak, almost non-existent. I turned around, thinking I would check the area where I had first found the trail, maybe try to make sense of what had happened. But when I reached the spot, there was nothing. No sign, no trail, just the same old, familiar trees. I walked back to the parking lot, my mind racing. The forest seemed like it had returned to normal, but it didn't feel that way. Something had changed, something I couldn't understand. I tried to go back the next day. I even showed up with a friend, hoping we could find the trail again, but it was gone. The path, the sign, the figure, it was all gone, as if it had never been there at all. Maybe it was just my imagination. Maybe it was some kind of trick of the woods, but I couldn't shake the feeling that the forest wasn't done with me yet. That something out there was still waiting, watching. The trail that hadn't been there before? Maybe it's still out there, hidden somewhere. And maybe it will find you when you least expect it.